Community is the compass, built not of sameness, but of voices varied and vibrant, stitched together in a quilt of care and resistance. Let difference be our strength, not our division.
All right. Good evening. How's everyone feeling this evening? I hope everyone we talked to was doing well this evening. Um, I got a lot of things I want to be grateful for. I'm grateful to have this opportunity and to have this platform to express my gratitude. You know, this year it reminds me of that everyone doesn't have as much as I. So I'm speaking with awareness and I'm speaking with a purpose. So thank you guys for tuning in. This has been a very great year. Hopefully, that things that you're looking forward to achieve, that you will achieve in the new year. My name is Kendall Stevenson, and I am here with my partner. He's my analyst, and my man is Ronald Yates. Ashe,
How you doing,
Ashe.
brother? Hotep.
Hotep, how are you? Also, this evening, because I know her time is short, but we're going to add it to the stage. I usually do the drum roll, and I can have a whole big menu like this of a resume for her. But what I can say is the sister's bad. No joke. Hello, young lady. How are you?
Hello, Kendall. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing very well. It's always great to have you on the show, and thank you very
Yeah.
much for coming back. I know your time is short. My man has a couple of questions for you. We know that you're a civil rights lawyer. So I got a question I want to ask. In these conditions, in these times, with the Civil Rights Act, the DEI, all of these different executive orders and stuff that this man has put in, is it really making an effect, or are they changing us? Are they hurting us, harming us?
Oh, absolutely. It's harming. So, a lot of the policies that are coming out of this administration are really moving in the wrong direction as far as progress that we have made. And we, I mean, African American communities and other minority communities have made in this country. That the federal government consciously had to make a decision to improve the quality of opportunities for us. And now this administration has turned around and said, we don't need to improve the quality of opportunities because there is no more need for us to make up for the discrimination that we've faced in the past. So not only is he erasing some of the protections to make sure that people are not being discriminated against, that people have the same opportunities to compete, that people have access to qualities of life, he is actually really not just taking it away, but really making it harmful for us to have stability. Think about this. We have now over 380,000 Black women who have been unemployed in 1 year, 2 times the rate of the national average unemployment rate. And I think that this is a national crisis that nobody's talking about. But if it happened to any other demographic in droves like it happened to us, I think we'd be hearing about it a lot more. So that's where we are in my eyes. And some of the things
I thought everything was great. I thought we were living in a country. Everything was fantastic. The prices are coming down. Inflation is almost gone. That's where I thought we were living. I didn't think that we lived still under the umbrella of this racist regime that we seem to be living under. You know?
Yeah, I love your sarcasm.
Yeah, I got a little bit of sarcasm. But under this administration, he signed quite a bit of executive orders. And some of them have gone, they've affected civil rights. What's the other? The DEI. Again, I spoke about affirmative action. Are they actually legal? Because he didn't go through Congress to do any of this. So are those executive orders, are they actual legal?
What a great question. And I have to advise people on this all the time. So the affirmative action went through the legal process and legal channels. And unfortunately, the Supreme Court came out saying that there's no more affirmative action for education programs. Now, what this administration has tried to do is take that ruling and apply it to the business sector of America. And they have now created advisory opinions as well as his what's his authority he has sorry I don't know why I'm blanking. It's my brain fog sometimes. Executive orders. He has used executive orders and advisory opinions and acted as if they were law that have been tried and tested through the channels that the law has to scrutinize a program, a DEI program or whatever program that someone has going on. And so I have to tell people constantly that executive orders are not law. They are advisory. They are the way he wants policy to be affected in the federal government. But that does not mean it should be the private sector's burden to use that advisory opinion as if it's a law that will either harm or hurt them if they don't abide by it. The problem that we're having is there's too much capitulation. People are whimpering down to Trump's advice or advisory demands and acting as if a court of law has said, hey, yes, these DEI practices are actually discriminatory. Naming DEI practices illegal discrimination is something that the Trump administration is narrating. This has never been tested in court. And I think that we need to start pushing and fighting against the narrative that we are somehow discriminating against people by curing for racism. That is the most gaslit type of thing that I've heard by a federal government, that you are practicing racism because you're curing for racism. That's crazy.
How about this one? White people don't have to apologize for being white anymore. I'm going to let my man weigh in on that. Let him weigh in on this conversation, because I know he's got something to say. I can feel it. You know how you can feel it coming out?
That body language, right?
Yeah, it's just oozing out of him. I'm just waiting to get in there. All right, brother.
Well,
man, what you got to say?
I have a question with respect to the executive orders. Now, you said they're not law, but are they enforceable? So does he have enforcement options for people that do not abide by these executive orders?
So great question. Executive orders are really orders that really dictate how agencies in the federal government will behave and do things. So meaning Trump have an executive order saying DEI is illegal. I do not, as a private employer, have to abide by that, because that has not been the law. That's you saying it's illegal because you're saying it. It has not been a legal premise and a legal construct that I have to follow. And so if I do something and I'm running a DEI program out of my business, and there's a whistleblower that says, hey, they're doing illegal DEI practices according to your advisory opinion, and they're getting federal grants, and you should either file a false claims act against me because I said in my federal grants I would not discriminate against people, or you should take away my funding. Well, I'm going to sue in court by saying you're retaliating against me illegally, because there is nothing I'm doing that's discriminatory by having an effective DEI program that does not discriminate, but it allows for more opportunities for more people who are qualified to do things within my business. That's fine. And I do think that some people are taking advisory opinions and executive orders as law. Now, if I were running a department in the federal government and Trump said, this is what I want you to do, well, as an employee, I have to follow that executive order. But as a private employer, I do not have to follow your executive order. And if you threaten to take away my funding, or if you threaten to prosecute me by saying that I am, creating a false claims act. And a false claims act means when I'm getting federal government money, I have to certify that I'm not doing anything illegal with it. So if you're claiming that I'm discriminated against people with government money, well, you need to prove that in court. And so for me, I am telling people actively, executive orders are not law that private people, private industry, private sectors have to abide by. There are certain governmental agencies that do have to abide by those, but not private industry.
So how does that work with?
I'm sorry. Go ahead. You're probably going to ask the same question I'm going to ask anyway. Go ahead, man.
So how does that work with the tariffs? Because many of the tariffs Trump has instituted on his own without any input from the Congress, and Congress was given the authority to levy taxes or taxation. So how is it that Trump is using, executive orders to put these tariffs in place? Are these tariffs legal?
Well, that's what they're right now in court about. So courts are now weighing in on the tariffs and the way in which the tariffs were put in place without Congress, because like you just said, Congress is who is supposed to make sure that these tariffs are ratified in a major way. And so this is the first time that anyone has seen the type of exercise of power that he has now created, where we're like, wait a minute, what's happening? And I don't think the lawsuits could have come soon enough, because people just didn't know, like people had to stop scratching their head to say, wait, what's going on here? So right now we're seeing attorneys generals across the country, mainly Democratic attorneys generals. I know this is a nonpartisan station. I'm not saying anything for or against. I'm saying that's the facts that are pushing back on tariffs that have been imposed that have had impact in their states. And you're seeing some of these attorney generals winning on the fact that these tariffs are not legal based on the way they were enacted. So I think I would say stay tuned for more court opinion on this, because people are just starting to go to court over his use of authority and abuse of authority on the tariff issues.
So with these tariffs, the prices have gone up because the prices come down on the consumers. Like mostly what I see in my little years on this planet, when prices go up, they don't seem to come down. So tariff or no tariff, it seems like we as American people, once they implemented the tariffs, legal or not legal, we're going to end up paying more money for a product.
You know what? I said that same thing when COVID happened. Everybody needed to raise prices because of supply and demand issues, lack of chain issues with respect to production. And when that stopped, we did not see prices go down. And there's a lot of price gouging going on. And I would say, again, this is where an attorney general needs to step in to say, are people committing theft because they are justifying or justifying a increase in sale without a real justification in terms of an increase in price production? You're seeing attorneys generals, the good ones that really care about people in their working class communities, saying, I'm not going to let business practices do this to people. And you're seeing people challenging businesses that are charging more money for the box of cereal that they have to make because, back in COVID, it cost more money to produce a box. But now we're not there, but the prices were still high. So there's a lot of things that are going on with unscrupulous business practices that I know states attorneys generals can look at that in their own states. The federal government is not going to do it right now because it's a Trump administration, and business practices have seemed to get away with a lot of stuff under this administration. That's just a fact. But I do think we need to be pushing more on our attorneys generals, our states attorneys generals, to pay attention to business practices, price productions, and whether or not the American people are being defrauded. And I think the answer is going to be across the line, yes. We just need the right agencies to use their tools and use their mandate to go in and look at this. Everything can't just be about two extremes. There's people like us in the middle that are working hard, trying to just maintain our households, and we can't seem to get above water because no one is checking the business practices and the prices for everyday items that seem to be tripled with no pandemic.
Well, you have to keep in mind that Trump has eliminated a number of the regulatory agencies that would monitor these things, right? That would monitor the economy, that would monitor pricing, right? Trump has eliminated them to make sure that the graft or the grift continues. But I have a question going back to some of these orders. Now, there's some controversy now, which I don't really understand. Ken and I both served in the military, both in the Army. And we were told under the Uniform Code of Military Justice, you do not have to follow an illegal order. Mm-hmm. So now you have President Trump and some in the Republican Party are telling these 6 members of the House, well, no, you have no right to tell people what the law clearly states. Now, in that vein, Trump has ordered ICE into the streets to knowingly commit violations of the Constitution, 4th, 5th, 6th Amendment, clear violations. So I guess my question is, who's ultimately responsible, the person who issued the order or the person who's carrying out the order?
So according to the Supreme Court, the president has a lot of immunity. That's unfortunate. I think they don't know what they did when they gave this man that type of immunity. But an attorney general, U.S. Attorney General, Pam Bondi, does not have that type of immunity. And if Pam Bondi is breaking the law, she can be court-martialed. She can be brought on charges. And they would have to bring a special prosecutor for her. However, One of the things you said, I think, is really important because I believe the Supreme Court just delivered a blow to Trump on some of these ICE enforcement practices.
Right.
And so I think they just told him, you cannot do what you're doing. I didn't read the whole opinion. I'm waiting. I need to do that because I needed to sit down with something, comfortable so I can read this opinion. But it seems as if the Supreme Court got it right on this issue. And so I'm grateful for that.
Right. Well, they made it aware something about Chicago that he can't
deploy the National Guard.
Guards of Chicago. Right. But what about the places where the National Guards are already there, like in Washington, D.C.? And he had another, 800, I believe, go over to Washington before the decision came down. And I got some buddies that live in Washington. They're saying that these National Guardsmen, they're still roaming around in the streets.
Yes, and it's hard with DC because it's like this sovereignty in government where federal. I think DC has a little bit more flexibility than other states, where the governor or the mayor have more control over their law enforcement than the federal government. But DC, that's something I have to do a little bit more research on, Kendall, because I do think that the mayor, Muriel Bowser, was in a very tight space because there is a little more leeway for DC and the federal reaction to law enforcement there. So I would ask to stay tuned on that because I do want to do a little bit of deeper dive to have a better conversation.
Yeah, the mayor this was last year. She's not coming back.
Yeah, she's poor. And I really liked her. I think she was a great woman.
I liked her too, but I didn't like the fact that she allowed certain things to go on and she kind of turned her back to some other things. But I thought she was going to go to be reelected. That's why I thought she was doing what she was doing, trying to keep her hands clean. But I don't know, some of the actions that she did. If anybody want to know, they can look it up. But she committed quite a few acts to me that was against us as a people.
I think she capitulated some, and I don't know if it was because of that kind of weirdness with DC being, more of a federal sovereignty versus a city. Not sure. And I have to figure that out because I want to give her the benefit of the doubt, but I want to do my homework first.
Your girl, you got to have her on the show with us, man.
My girl,
Jasmine Crockett.
Oh my gosh, I am so.
Did I just say the whole? Did I just not? Did I get it wrong?
You did not get that wrong.
Oh, okay, yeah, your girl. We'd love to have her on the show. You can bring her on with you, but I would love to speak to that woman. I think she is the bomb.
She is what we need in this moment because I'm tired of people acting as if being meek and cordial is the only way to deal politics. Sometimes you've got to have someone to match up. If you got a basketball team of all 6 foot players, you don't want 4 foot, 5 foot players on your team only, right? Sure, they can probably run around and get the job done in some way, but it's going to be harder. You got to match energy. You got to match strength. And I think Jasmine Crockett has matched strength and is going to put basically truth to power. She's going to speak the truth, and you may not like how her delivery is, but we're seeing delivery on the national stage that we've never seen before. And I just don't think that this is the moment to say, hey, we're going to stick to our old playbook. We better get in there and fight fire with fire. And I love that she's doing that, and she's doing it unapologetically and fearlessly because she's getting beat up by everyone, not just the other side, but even by us.
I just want to give her all the respect.
You better be careful.
Okay, I'm just trying to give you the respect. Okay, so all right, the brother's giving the respect. Okay, all right.
You know what I think, and I've made this known to Kendall and others. I think that our system, political system, our economic system, our social system, is irreparably broken. Right? For us to work within the system, we're working in a system that has never been broken. The system is working exactly the way it's designed to work. The system is designed to keep people like Black people that were called, sometimes referred to as the permanent underclass. System was designed to do that. The system was designed and set up so that we can have the largest redistribution of wealth from the lower 50% of the planet, really, to the top 1%, the largest redistribution of wealth. And that's going to continue. And now we have a government that is completely out of control. And by the time Trump leaves office, what's going to be left between the tariffs that are destructive, between the policies that are sending all of this money abroad, which he claimed America would be first. But now he said today he'll knock the hell out of Iran. We bombed Iran. We bombed in Syria. We bombed just the other day in Syria again, right? We're giving Israel billions of dollars to continue a genocide. I mean, the UN Charter specifically states that action would have to be taken in the event of genocide. And yet we're trying to fix the system.
You know, they put boots
well,
on
I
the
know
ground.
they just had a strike. They just had a strike in Venezuela.
Right, I think the sister got something to say because I know her time is short. So I'm going to let her go ahead and come on, say your last piece, sister. Don't forget about Jasmine Crockett.
I won't
forget about
it.
me and Jasmine Crockett. So, you know, when you say hello to the sister, you let her know that we here on the Empowerment Network. I know we're just a little bit of nothing, but you know, we represent the people, and that's what we're talking about here. We're talking about the people, so we would love to have her on the station to let her express her views.
That's
all right, sister. Do you?
Well, first of all, I should say, Brother Ron Yates, thank you so much for your insight, and I 100% agree with you. I hope that I come back on and we can have a better, longer conversation. I'm sorry I have to cut this short today, but based on where we started with respect to civil rights, I right now am in the realm of civil rights lawyering, and it's not easy, but it's very rewarding because what it does is help me understand the things that Thurgood Marshall had to deal with in a way that was far more dangerous than what I'm dealing with, right? I mean, you're talking about marshaling a new way of living in America through the legal channels that Thurgood Marshall took on his shoulders and invited community into the space so that everyone played their role and played a part. That to me was a fascinating understanding. It wasn't just going into court arguing the law, but it was sending demonstrators out there to do things, to be arrested so that they can argue those cases in court and follow them all the way up to the Supreme Court to get the law changed in certain areas where there was voter restrictions, where there was just, denial of access to public spaces and denial of education. These are major things that were going on blatantly. And now we're still dealing with those things, but that are far more sophisticated in the way the system is set up to discriminate. And right now I'm seeing a lack of lawyers who really get it, that are doing this type of work. It's hard work, but it's rewarding work, and it is very long-lasting work. And we at the Marone Law Firm are taking this on. We're taking it head on. We're doing cases where there's wrongful convictions, police misconduct and brutality. We're taking on education systems, employers and employment discrimination. We are here for it, but we could really use anyone who's interested in this to help. If they want to get some experience, we have some areas where they can come in and get experience, helping us build these cases, talk to community, work with community in major ways. We are going to Thurgood Marshall this thing because it's now the time. We have a consciousness and awareness that we are in our second or third civil rights moment, but it would be the second for my lifetime. And we've got to do something. And the law is a very valuable tool. Not the only tool. We need access to radio and media. We need academics. We need civil rights organizations. We need community activists. We need all of that. But we cannot lose focus on how the law effectuate major change. So Marone Law Firm is doing this work day in and day out. We can use any help we can get. If you want to help, you can reach out to me at B as in Bradford, Gray, Grey, at maronelaw.com. Or you can just Google Marone Law Firm, Marrone, Marone Law Firm, and it'll have all of our information on the website. So maronelaw.com will have all of our information. Please reach out if you'd like to volunteer. We have remote volunteer work that we can do or in person, but we could really use the hands and the help, the passion and the commitment. Thank you so much, Kendall, for allowing me just to come on and talk about this. And hey, you didn't even say anything about I chopped off all my hair.
I saw it. You know what I was looking at the other day? I'm gonna tell you, when you were out at the picnic last year when you came up for the picnic, and you had the long hair and you had a yellow dress. I was checking the pictures out. So yeah, I noticed you cut your hair. It looks all right, sister.
I had to start fresh.
Just one quick question before you go. You said KB Gray at Marone Law Firm?
MaroneLaw.com.
Marone Law. Okay.
Marone Law, just law, not law firm.
If you want to Google Marone Law, you can Google Marone Law Firm. You can just put in your Google bar, Marone Law Firm, Philadelphia. It'll come right up.
Okay. All right.
All right.
Thank
Please.
you so
I'm gonna
much.
tell you something. I know hair is supposedly beautiful or whatever, but when I see a sister is natural, that's real beauty to me, especially on a sister. So you fine. Just keep doing what you're doing. I like what you're doing. It looks beautiful on you. All right, thank you again for coming on. And we got to give you your applause. So, okay. All right, my man. Let's get that Venezuela, because that's where you left me at Venezuela.
Well, yeah.
They put the boots on the ground in Venezuela, right? There was an attack.
They did launch a strike into Venezuela, right? So what's happening here is what we saw. Well, let's go back. 9/11, nearly 3,000 people died at the site of what was once the Twin Towers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Within days, the government, through their so-called intelligence agencies, were able to determine that this is the work of Osama bin Laden and that he was hiding in a cave in Afghanistan. So in order to bring him to justice, we had to launch a strike, a full-scale war on Afghanistan. Now we're looking for one man hiding in a cave. Why do you need to send all of the military assets available to find one man hiding in a damn cave?
He had weapons.
This was not, that's Saddam Hussein. This was not about bringing Osama bin Laden to justice. Osama bin Laden was a CIA asset for years, going back to when he was assisting the US in fighting the Soviet Union in Afghanistan. So it's not like this man had fallen off the radar. This was about the fact that US corporations wanted to run a pipeline through Afghanistan to carry natural gas to the Arabian Sea.
Right.
Well, after the war against the Soviet Union ended, well, the US had promised funds to rebuild that nation. Well, after the war ended, America said, to hell with you guys. We're not interested. Well, now you go back later on and say, we want to build a pipeline. Well, the Taliban, who were the Mujahideen during the Soviet war, said, no, give us the money you promised us and maybe we'll think about it.
Right.
Well, they turned them down. All of a sudden, now we have to send all of the military into Afghanistan to find the dude hiding in the cave. And then a couple of weeks after that, all of a sudden, now Saddam Hussein, who has no link to the events of 9/11, now suddenly he has to disarm, or now we have to invade his country. Well, if you recall, during that time, Dick Cheney was meeting with the heads of the oil companies, and they were having these meetings to determine where the remaining reserves of oil were. And the big one was Iraq. So now we've invaded Afghanistan. We want to run that pipeline. And Afghanistan is the number one producer of poppy, trillions of dollars worth of narcotics. Bush, when he was president, said that they were going to eradicate the poppy fields. Well, years later, we had an opium crisis where people overdosing left and right. So if you got rid of the poppy fields, where's all this heroin coming from? So this is what the government was willing to do to get control of resources. That was nearly 30 years ago. Today, you have them surrounding Venezuela. Venezuela, another country, a country with oil, a country with gold. Now he's had a strike into Nigeria. Nigeria, oil, and other resources. The real rationale behind this or the strategic value is the Sahel region, because you have Nigeria, oil, and other resources. You have Niger, which is the number one producer of uranium. You have Burkina Faso, right?
Coal,
They have cobalt, phosphates,
diamonds.
right?
They got it all.
And
Gold.
they have a man by the name of Captain Ibrahim Traore that they
man.
want to get rid of because he is spreading the idea of revolution across Africa and across the world. So he's
Isn't
got
this
to
funny
go.
though? Anytime us brown people, black people, anytime we decide that we're going to unify, it must be a dangerous thing for people that are non-melanin, that don't have this color in their skin. It must be we must be a very dangerous thing or entity to them. It seems that they don't want us to become educated. It's already put out there. That's the propaganda. They want us to be stupid and dumb. And then they want to build these borders, these segregation borders, to segregate us against ourselves. Even by stupid thing you hear. I mean, we've been colonialized, so some of us still want to be like Europeans, and even in Africa, you got the women who are lightening their skins and so forth. And I just think it's really ridiculous about what's going on. Lost my train of thought. I wanted to talk about actually.
Well, let me just comment on something you said about the danger of us uniting. J. Edgar Hoover, when he was in charge of the FBI, he put out a memorandum. And in that memorandum, he said we must prevent the rise of a black messiah who can electrify and unify the masses of black people. He recognized then the dangers of us uniting. This is something that Malcolm talked about. If you recall, Malcolm wanted to go before the UN to talk about the struggle of the black men in America was the same struggle, as the brown man fighting for his very existence in Vietnam, in Laos, in Cambodia. It's the same struggle in the Caribbean, in the Pacific Islands. He wanted to unite those people who are brothers in struggle or in the struggle. That is the danger. So that is why the game has always been divide and conquer. Keep us fighting against one another, right? So that we'll never realize we have a common struggle and a common enemy. And as long as we think that we're any different from the brother in Nigeria, or the brother in Niger, or the brother in Jamaica, or the brother in Jakarta, right? We'll always be divided, fighting for the scraps that fall off the master's table.
And it seems like they'll always be in control, and we'll never truly have that control, because if we do unite as a people, and I'm talking about if we unite as a people truly, we'll be the strongest on this planet. Nothing. We'll be the most wealthiest. We'll have all of the strength, everything. We would control everything.
Well, we always have been. We just didn't know it, right? See, if you can convince a people that, listen, you work for me for 400 years for free. I'm going to have my heaven right here. If you continue to work for me, I'll put in a good word with you, with the God that looks like me. So when you die, you can go and you can have yours later. I'm going to have mine now, but you got to die to have yours. If you can convince people, billions of people across the world, that is what religion is about, then you can gain control of these people's thinking and their actions. And that's what has happened with us. We are not in control of our own thoughts and our emotions. Someone else is. Someone else is driving the narrative. And until we wake up and begin to shake off the colonial chains that is still wrapped around our brains, we are going to stay stuck in this situation.
It seems like you want us to be woke, man. That's a dangerous thing, being woke, isn't it? Isn't that a bad word nowadays, to be woke?
That's what the government is saying. Stay asleep. Don't pay attention to what's happening. Stay asleep and just be quiet and let us handle this.
Right.
But
Just
what's
believe
at
me when I
stake?
say. Don't believe what you
Right.
see. Just believe it when I say it, because it's true. There's no other truth except for what I say, and that's what it's coming down to, man. And people are
And
drinking the Kool-Aid and following it, man.
well, I think that now, right? So within 2 days, 20 or so million people are going to be dropped from the healthcare rolls.
Mm.
Many of these people are in red states. Many of these people were solid Trump supporters. Many of these people were cheering Trump on when he was running. These are the people that took their few nickels and dimes and went and they donated money to the Trump campaign. Now, these very same people, these uneducated people that Trump says he loves them so much that he's snatching their health care from them. He loves them so much that he's taking their jobs from them. All these federal workers that were laid off, that were fired, all these people that he loves so much. Well, they're paying the price for his love.
Mm-hmm. They certainly are. All right. So on that note, brother, I think we're gonna call it an evening. I was very glad that Kira decided to come on. You know, at one time she was running for attorney general for the state. I think she should do it again. I really do.
Yeah, I believe she'd be very good at it.
Yeah, she was a very good candidate, and I enjoyed being around her. She's a very intelligent woman, you know. But again, on that note, we're gonna call it a night. We're gonna say Happy New Year, okay, to all of the people out there, and thank you very much for tuning in. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. And if there's anything that you like to hear or you like to talk about, leave us a comment, and we'll see how we can address it for you. My name is Kendall Stevenson. I'm the host. This is my brother, and he is the assassin of politics. He can slice it, dice it up, and spit it back out to you and tell you what's happening around the world. Mr.
Thank you,
Ronald.
brother. I appreciate that.
Yeah, Ashe.
And
So,
and to our listeners, right? We're not going to see you until next year, but on behalf of myself and my brother, I wish you a healthy, peaceful, and prosperous new year. And I hope that the ancestors that have been so busy lately, waking up the masses wherever they may be found, that will continue and it will speed our rise to power. So with that, Ashe. And
Ashe.
Hotep.
We're out.